Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
What's going on, guys? Happy Saturday. Hope you guys are having a great weekend so far. Welcome to another edition of True Crime with Strategic. Got another show for you guys. We got a Nancy Guthrie update. So Nancy Grace thinks that this is not a cold case. We're going to look into what she has to say, see if she's working with something. We definitely would like it to not be a cold case, but the position here on True Crime with Strategic is that it is a cold case. But listen, I'm infallible. I can be wrong. I would definitely very curious to hear what Nancy Grace has to say about the Nancy Guthrie case. But before we jump into that, I want to just throw something by you guys real quick. We've been covering those two beautiful girls, Mila Chapman and Amor Wilson, who were found in suitcases in Cleveland, Ohio. They were in, we can't even say that they were buried at this point because they were not buried. There was just a very rudimentary covering of soil on top of these suitcases. It was in a small playground called the Serenade Playground, which is outside of a school. One of the fathers came forward, and he was very adamant that he wanted to be in his child's life, because there's two different baby daddies we're dealing with here. We discovered that one of those baby daddies is currently incarcerated and is doing some time. The one that's not incarcerated at the moment, he, through our digging, was incarcerated for a couple years early on in his daughter's life. But anyway, this guy was very adamant that he was fighting for his daughter, etc. Well, he's done a number of interviews, and his perspective on the facts have changed quite a bit. But we did some digging, and as of now, and we're not saying that he's not being honest with us, but as of now, we can't find any evidence that this guy has put in petitions for custody or visitation or anything. We can't find any evidence of that. Now, he's also said that he called Child Protective Services and stuff like that, and that's kind of what started the rift between him and the mother. We will not be able to confirm that because Child Protective Services cases are confidential. But when it comes to court cases, there's no evidence that this guy ever tried to go to court to fight for his daughter. And lastly, his story has kind of changed a bit, because one moment he says, I was fighting for him in court and all that stuff. The next moment he said, well, I just spoke to a bunch of attorneys and they told me that they couldn't do anything because we don't know where she lived. So that doesn't seem like you went to court to me. Looks like you called some 1-800 number and the attorney said, well, you know what? Yeah, it's going to be very tough. We don't know where she lives. And that's just not the case. Like if an attorney wants to find somebody, you could find a person. There's skip searches, there's Accurate, there's Intellus, there's all these different, searches that the moment somebody has a magazine mailed to the house, the moment that they pay a utility bill, which we know she had utilities in her name, you'd be able to find where the person lives. So I don't know what to believe. We'll keep looking into this, but I just wanted to give you guys that update. As of right now, we cannot confirm that this guy is being honest with us and he actually was fighting for his daughters. All right, that being said, let's get back to Nancy and let's see what's going on. We're going to start off with Brian Enton, who he's going to talk about something interesting. I haven't watched what he said, but I read the title, and apparently he's kind of like drawing a nexus between when Nancy Guthrie disappeared and there being some type of outage of internet at her residence. So like, were these criminals sophisticated enough to say, well, she has video surveillance system. That's clearly a Google video surveillance system. I know what it is because I have it. If they're like professional burglars, they might know what it is too. And maybe they said, well, let's cut the cord of the internet to try and, deactivate the system. I don't know. Let's see what Brian Enton has to say.
Hey guys, so something new and interesting in the Nancy Guthrie story. There may have been an internet outage right at the time that Nancy Guthrie was abducted. I spoke with one neighbor who tells me that his Ring camera history shows as not available during the time of the Nancy Guthrie abduction. Right?
Hold on. Let me bring that back.
Shows as spoke with one neighbor who tells me that his Ring camera history shows as not available during the time of the Nancy Guthrie.
All right, so it's not Nancy Guthrie's house. It's a neighbor who allegedly lost service during this time.
Abduction, right around that time. And also, we know that other neighbors, the FBI has been to their houses and has asked them about a possible internet outage at that time. What's interesting about this is if you look back at the surveillance photos and videos of the suspect, there's this antenna that is sticking out of the pocket, at least what appears to be an antenna. We're actually not sure what it is. It could be an antenna. I've heard some people say it's a walkie-talkie. Others, though, have suspected it could be a signal jammer, which could play into this whole issue with the possibility of an internet outage. But this is new. I hadn't heard until now that there is one neighbor.
Well, if it's a single jammer and it's jamming as far as the neighbors are, because listen, she doesn't live in a desolated, isolated area. That's not the case. But her neighbors are spread out. They're not on top of each other. All right. It's not like she's in Staten Island where everybody is like on top of each other. Nobody has a backyard in Staten Island. Staten Island is overdeveloped with houses. You want to see what sprawling overdevelopment for suburbia looks like? Go to Staten Island. Everybody lives in a house, but their houses are right next to each other. So why would the neighbor whose house is not next to Nancy's, it's not super far, it's not 10 acres away, but it's quite a ways away. Why would the neighbor's internet be affected, but Nancy's internet is not affected? These signal jammers, they jam a lot of different things. Like, why is it that they were able to get these partial pictures of the burglar / kidnapper if he's standing right outside of the door with the signal jammer? So I don't know if that's a single jammer. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's no such thing as a bad theory. This may very well be some type of signal jammer, but I'm just saying, is it likely that it is? To me, it's not likely. Let's keep going.
Who says that his Ring camera footage, his Ring camera history is not available during that time frame, which is interesting. So I'll keep on top.
And guys, like, I want you to understand these cameras, they don't have local storage. There are some cameras that you could put a USB drive or a micro USB into the camera and get local storage. There's some cameras that come built in with local storage. Most of them don't. It's either they let you add your own storage or it doesn't have it. These cameras don't have local storage. They're streaming onto the cloud. Whether you have a service plan or not, you still stream to the cloud because the non-paid service for the Google still gives you some level of functionality. So it's not like you buy these cameras and it's like they should not be going to the cloud. People were saying that when this first happened. Like, well, she didn't have a subscription, so why they still recorded? You don't buy these cameras if you don't want any footage to go to the cloud. These are cloud-based cameras. So Google did not violate her rights by being able to recover her footage. She knew what she was signing up for when she bought those cameras and activated them. Now, she may not have read that fine print, but it was in there. These are cloud-based cameras. This is not like Swan cameras and Night Owl cameras where they're local-based, local storage-based surveillance cameras. No, these are cloud-based cameras. So even if you elect for the free tier of service, you're still getting some measure of functionality. So you're still getting a few hours of video surveillance footage. You're still getting notified when there's movement. You just can't go back in the archives and review that stuff because you didn't pay for that storage. So technically, what you're paying for when you have a subscription to Google and to Ring, you're paying for storage. You're paying for them to store the images for a long period of time. But you still get function out of them for free if you sign up and you don't pay. So if there's no Wi-Fi service, we would have 0 videos, 0 pictures. And that's not the case. We do have pictures. And it looks like the FBI is working on, and Google is working on getting even more video surveillance footage. They just haven't released it yet, but they're going to be able to get more footage. This is not the only footage that we're going to get. Anyway, let's keep going.
Of it, this is downtown Tucson, by the way. All right, talk to you guys later.
And you know what's so funny? One of the persons that won a free T-shirt, I mailed out all the free stuff that I promised. I mailed that out yesterday. I sent emails to people with their with their tracking numbers. There's one person that I promised a challenge coin to, but unfortunately I couldn't find their email. If you send me another email, if you did not get an email saying that you got a tracking number for your prize, send me another email from the same email, because then I'll be able to know that you are that person. You're not some scammer trying to get something for free. But I could not find your email with your address on it, so unfortunately you did not get your challenge coin. Everybody else who was promised a free promo, it was in the mail, you got an email with your tracking number. But what made me bring this up is that one of the people who won a free t-shirt is from Tucson. What's the odds of that? That's pretty cool that this person in Tucson is going to get a True Crime Strategic shirt. So do me a favor, when you get your True Crime with Strategic shirt, go on down there with JLR and all those cool guys and wear your shirt with pride. Let them know, hey, I watch True Crime with Strategic, all right? And you guys should too. Let's keep going. Let's get into Savannah Guthrie's mom missing, day 32. This is a reaction to Nancy Grace, where she's going to talk about why she believes that this is not a cold case. What evidence will she bring forward to the table that's going to prove it? Let's keep going.
Breaking news, Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, missing, day 32. Tonight, the very latest in the search for Mrs. Guthrie. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
All right, big shout out to everybody who's watching this right now. Please hit that like button, support the channel. As somebody pointed out in the channel, we only got like 100 likes. That's crazy. Wow, I'm losing my touch. Show some love, hit that like button so we can get into the algorithm and the channel could grow. I don't want to be a dirty little secret. Let the channel grow. Hit the like button.
Straight out to Crime Stories, investigator Dave Mack. Dave, what's the latest?
Nancy, the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie really is heating up, believe it or not. You know, we passed the 1 month mark, and there has been hints online in referring to a cold case. Some people have taken the idea that since the FBI has moved from Tucson back to their main office in Phoenix, that was a slowing down of the investigation. Actually, it's the opposite of that. We even have a former FBI investigator, Jennifer Coffendaffer, who has gone on record saying this case is red hot. And
I need to get like a sound for my soundboard of a sigh, like, really? Let's let him keep going.
the only people that would see it as possibly cold are people who have never worked an investigation whatsoever.
I've worked more investigations than you, buddy. I think it's cold. Been working investigations since I was 22 years old. 40. 41. Don't subtract the number. You are 41, you old buzzard. About to turn 42 in a month and change. I've been doing this a long time, bro. This case is cold. Let's keep going.
The FBI is working on so many videos right now that they really need it.
And that's exactly what cold means. This is no good leads. There's no good leads. Now, listen, an investigation could go from cold to hot to cold again to hot. It's very fluid. So as a pro, I'm not using cold like how people might use cold like it's dead. It's never going to be solved. I've never said that on my channel. I've always said that eventually they're going to solve this case. Eventually. It's too much money out there. There is too much money out there. There's over $1 million that's available for the taking. People will sell their mother out for $1 million. Somebody's going to crack. But right now, this case is cold. Now, could it get hot? Could it get hot in a minute or two? Absolutely. It could get hot. But right now, it's cold. It's cold. There's no leads. How could you say that an investigation is hot and there's no cold when they done did like search warrants on 3 houses already and got nothing? They done detained like 4 people and got nothing. Whatever happened to the Range Rover? I think the sheriff's driving that Range Rover. Like they took that guy Range Rover, now the sheriff is driving it. I'm joking. I'm just joking, okay? He's not driving that man's Range Rover. we'd have a problem, ladies and gentlemen, if the sheriff was. Like, this case is cold. They have no viable leads right now, except for the very good surveillance footage that has not gotten us a suspect yet. Let's keep going, man.
To go back to their main office in Phoenix, where
and I'm not doing that because they went back to their office. Partly it is. You don't send your people back to the office unless it's done. Like, for instance, when we're working out hot cases, and these are cases sometimes are much more heinous than what happened to Nancy Guthrie's mother. Not to compare, because every case is unique and every case matters to the people who are involved in it. We don't go back to our office until we have nothing left to investigate. Like, we've exhausted all our leads and we're waiting now to get results. Like, we do this all the time. Like, I mean, we got massive cases like this. It's not the coverage that this has gotten, but the technical importance of the case, the high profile nature of the case. I do this like every 2 months. Don't get me wrong, we have some serious heartbreaking cases, but those don't require this level of technical expertise. It's known to, it's a daddy that did something to his daughter, it's a ex-boyfriend, or, did something to his girlfriend, it's the guy the girl met at the bar, and there's great surveillance footage, and, we know what Uber they got in, or what, so now we're able to trace him. We know who the guy is. We're like this. Like, stranger, we don't know who this is. Person is like a ghost. I'm investigating cases like this, or I'm a part of a team investigating cases like this. Like, every 60 days, we get a case like this. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm telling you guys, the case is cold. But, I'm always open-minded. Prove me wrong, man. It's going to take more than some platinum-colored aged hair to sway me. I need proof and evidence, okay? Because I have no hair, but I do have experience doing high-level investigations. So please, convince me.
Have all of their equipment. The FBI being in Tucson, they have an office there, but not at the level they have in Phoenix. So that was the whole reason the FBI went basically back to their main offices, where they have access to everything right there. They're going through so much video evidence right now. Plus, don't forget, we've still got a glove, DNA from inside the house. We've got the porch guy, which that video release garnered thousands of leads. So the FBI is taking...
You guys know why he's looking down like that, right? He's trying not to show his face to the camera. It's a real weird dude. Big shout out to DP. DP with a $20 super chat says, from Mr. DP. So we got Mrs. DP watching right now. And she says, from Mr. DP, he said, my guy Strategic stays busy with true crime on all fronts. You're damn right about that. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for all the love and believing in this mission that we're doing here on True Crime Strategic to give a voice to the voiceless. You are amazing. Thank you.
All of these things we've talked about, and they're breaking them down one by one. That was the reason for the move back to Phoenix. So this investigation, red hot, not ice cold. Now, Sheriff Nanos has gone on record on a number of issues in the last couple of days, and very interesting that the car that was seen on the Ring camera about 2.5 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home. If you remember, there's a car that is seen 2:36 a.m. driving by this away from the area. And at first, FBI said, no, it's not a part of the investigation. We're not worried about that. But once they got a better look at it, then investigators really did start honing in. Now they're trying to identify what type of car it is. Right now they're looking at a vehicle with a sloped roof, distinct vertical brake lights, as well as rear quarter glass. These are the things they're trying to identify and determine what kind of vehicle it is.
The thing is, these are very rural areas, so it's like if I'm looking for that kind of car, it'd be easy for me to find it because we have so much license plate readers in my municipality that we'd be able to kind of like triangulate how many Kia Souls were driving through this area at this time and kind of then narrow it down as we do an investigation of who owns what cars or whatever. But this is such a rural area. There's not a lot of police out there. There's not a lot of license plate readers. So This person possibly could go through this entire town and not be not have their plate photographed. I wonder why it's taking so long. And so that's why I'm not wondering rather why it's taking so long for them to kind of narrow down who owns this car, because of the location. It's crazy. Big shout out to Tony Pajamas. $2 super chat says, much love from Tucson, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. That's very generous of you. Let's keep going.
And that'll be the part of that investigation. So again, red hot material being investigated by the sheriff's department as well as the FBI. Sheriff Nanos also brought up
Nanos,
the backpack again. Now, this Ozark Trail Hiker backpack is exclusively sold at Walmart when it's brand new. But Nanos actually was talking about how
Nanos,
this backpack could have been purchased anywhere.
Yeah.
And he's right.
eBay, Amazon, Walmart.com. Yo, I don't even go to Walmart anymore. Walmart has an Amazon alternative where you pay a subscription. And I don't even remember how much it costs. I've been with them for so many years. I don't even go to Walmart anymore. I order it and they deliver it to my house. Like, there's no need for me to go to Walmart. And I like going to Walmart, but I prefer the online, because when I go to Walmart, I end up spending too much money. Like, they could have gotten this from anywhere. There's so many retailers who will resell this backpack. I've seen this backpack before. And when they said it was a Walmart exclusive, I'm like, huh? Because I saw it everywhere. I've seen it everywhere. I've not only just seen it in Walmart. In fact, I've never seen it in Walmart because I've never looked for it. But I've seen it on Amazon many, many times, because I usually buy bags and book bags during Amazon Prime Week. So I've seen this Ozark pop up into my feed on Amazon multiple times. It's crazy.
People sell things they've barely used all the time through, different means, whether it's through eBay or Facebook Marketplace or whatever. So Nanos was merely trying to point out that while this backpack appears to be new, and it is known that the Ozark, this particular backpack, is only sold at Walmart, he's just saying that maybe that's not where it was bought. We'll have to wait and see, but they're still trying to identify where the outfit worn by the porch guy, where it came from, where it was bought. They're putting all of this together, and Nanos was just, for whatever reason, opening that up for discussion. Nanos is saying that the investigation is getting very, very close to finding a suspect. Very interesting in the fact that the investigation is now over a month old, and yet the evidence is starting to come together. It takes time. And that's
wait. All right, I hear you. First of all, big shout out to Miss Rue with a 5-gift membership. Thank you so much. So those 5 people who now will be able to be a part of our membership family, please make sure you thank Miss Rue. That's very generous of her for doing that. Now, he's saying that the evidence is coming together, but it's kind of contradictory from what we're hearing. What we're hearing is that the DNA is not lining up. What we're hearing is that we have a mixture that they are not able in some instances to be able to sift through. We're hearing that, the tips that they're getting are leading to dead ends because they're leading to the arrest of innocent people, or the detainment, rather, of innocent people. What evidence is coming together? Now, there might very well be evidence coming together that we don't know about. Please understand that. But what I'm saying is, if he's privy to the same information that we're privy to, I'm wondering what evidence he's talking about that's coming together. Unless, of course, I don't know what this guy's pedigree is. A lot of the guys that come on to Nancy Grace and these other folks' shows are former FBI people, former folks who are in high positions. Maybe he might have connections that we don't know about that's telling him that there's evidence coming together in the background. But whatever we've seen, the police action that we've seen taken in the public sphere has led to dead ends. So that leads us to be a little less, or rather more, skeptical of what they might be working with in the background. Because what they show us is inept. You understand what I'm saying, guys? Like, I'm not convinced, but maybe he knows more than what we know. Let's keep going.
They're really working on. So as we move forward from here, Nancy, the investigation is heating up as opposed to cooling down. The evidence will speak for itself throughout all of this.
Anna Ryan joining us, lab director, forensic DNA analyst at Pure Gold Forensics and forensic DNA consultant at Ryan Forensics, 25 years in the business. Susanna, thank you for being with us. A lot is being made of DNA tonight. What do you make of it, and where do we stand right now? I find it really hard to believe when Nano says this is going to take months to get DNA matches. That's simply not true, unless you're trying to separate DNA if it's mixed, or you're trying to regenerate DNA if you've got a minuscule amount, or if you're trying to rehabilitate degraded DNA. But we don't know that any of that is true from DNA inside the home.
Right.
Susanna Ryan, what do you make?
We have a problem that we spoke about when we covered this maybe it was the last show we covered on Nancy Guthrie. Like, the crime scene has been contaminated so many different times, ladies and gentlemen, by so many different people. It's almost like DNA might end up being a wild goose chase. Like, we might be chasing our own tail with the DNA. Furthermore, it may not be successful because it's very difficult for a judge to throw out evidence that's going to convict somebody. But we do have a defense attorney has a lot of ground to play with to get DNA evidence thrown out because of how terribly handled the crime scene was. So I don't know. I'm just not too convinced on the DNA aspect because it's been bamboozled. It's been handled crazy since day one. Big shout out to everybody who's watching this right now. We have over 400 people watching this live stream right now. Only 200 likes. Please hit the like button so we can get into that algorithm and the show could be shown to a wider audience. We do appreciate your support. Let's keep going.
Sure. Yeah, it can be really difficult and challenging when we have mixtures in the laboratory. And, sometimes the mixtures are kind of simple. Maybe we have one or two people, we know who one of the contributors are, so it's easier to, back out that other person. But when we have samples that are commonly referred to as touch, or these transfer DNA samples where we're trying to pick up maybe just skin cell DNA, it is really common for us to pick up mixtures of multiple people. And one of the reasons for that is the DNA testing we do today in the modern DNA lab is extremely sensitive. So, we're talking getting DNA results from only a few cells worth of DNA. So if you think about it, something that's been handled could have been handled by multiple individuals. And so we're going to pick up all of those people's DNA. We could even pick up DNA from someone that actually wasn't there, but their DNA is transferred by somebody else. Someone shook hands with somebody and then tried to open the door, or came into contact with something that was then swabbed and collected. So these are kind of, the worst kind of samples, really, where we have probably multiple contributors. We can have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the number of contributors is endless, really. And when you have those multiple contributors, you have low-level DNA typically with touch or transfer samples, and maybe they're partial. They're not even a complete profile. So they're really difficult to work with. And unfortunately, there really isn't a way at this point in time for us to be able to separate out those cells that are collected, right? So whatever is collected on the swab, for example, we put it into a tube, we add our extraction liquids, and every cell that is present breaks open and the DNA is released, right? So now we have this kind of soup, this alphabet soup of DNA that we then have to move forward with and try to get a profile. So whatever was present, that's what our profile is going to be. There's no way to separate or isolate it out.
Okay.
We do have ways after we have the profile to try to determine, is there a major contributor? Is one person contributing more than someone else? Then we can work with that. We have ways that we can compare. If we ever do get a suspect, we can compare that suspect to any of these mixtures. And,
Right.
They're talking about excluding certain people from from Nancy's family. They're making comparisons, but the mixtures themselves are just not good enough to go into CODIS. But again, once we have a suspect, we could place that person possibly on multiple different areas in the home.
What about Andy Guthrie's car? Law enforcement got the car early on in the investigation, and they still have it. What will law enforcement be looking for in that Andy Guthrie vehicle?
Well, any vehicle that we get that's involved or potentially involved in a crime, they're going to be looking for things like latent prints, trace evidence like hairs and fibers, and of course they'd be looking for DNA. Now, in a vehicle where we know the victim she's been in that vehicle, right? Even potentially that same night that she was taken, she was in that vehicle. So it's not going to be surprising to see Nancy Guthrie's DNA present in multiple locations in that car. However, if you start seeing blood that matches up with Nancy, that might be a little bit different story, right? Or if we see blood maybe in the back seat of the vehicle, if we see her blood in the trunk of the car, that's a little more difficult to explain than just sort of skin cell DNA throughout the car. Another thing we'd look for is, did someone step in her blood and then inadvertently transfer it to the floor mat of the driver's seat or to the gas pedal or the brake pedal? So that's something else they'd be looking.
This is crazy. So at Close Mom 412 at Strategic Guys, in the video, the man taps his left hand and looks to the right. A sign language expert says that it's a sign that means pay attention. What do you think? I didn't see that. I don't know. It's possible. I would just say be very cautious, people, when you're watching on YouTube. Everybody who says they're expert at everything. Sometimes these folks, man, they you know, anything for content, and they got the voice where they sound official. You know, I've been doing sign language stuff for 50 years. When you do a tapping and this and that, that means that I did it. Stop it. That's a reach, man. That's a reach. So be very careful, people, as you listen to people. Listen, you guys know what I do. It's no mystery who I am. I'm a public figure. I don't say my name here, but people have looked me up and they see where I work and they understand why I have the expertise that I have. I've also showed you guys my past jobs when I worked internal affairs for the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. I've shown you press conferences of huge cases that I've done. You guys know what I do. Now, I don't talk about stocks and I don't talk about, things that I don't know. I only talk about what I know, and that's here. That's law enforcement. That's investigations. I would definitely tell you, please be very careful with what you hear on the internet. It's not always true. And I see people who are misspelling CODIS. CODIS is spelled CODIS. It's not COTUS. All right. So just letting you guys know. I mean, it's not a big deal, but see you guys talking about it. So I'm just going to let you know what it's spelled like. All right. But anyway, interesting stuff. Let's keep going. Just be careful. I just hate when I see good people who are trying to figure this stuff out and trying to understand this get misled. I'm not trying to mess with anybody else's meal ticket. I don't know what YouTuber this person was talking about, if they were even talking about a YouTuber. They could be talking about TikTok and Instagram and all that. I'm just saying, you guys are good people. You guys are trying to understand law enforcement. You're trying to understand these investigations. And I just caution you, be careful what you see and what you believe on the internet. Even if it's a friendly face, that doesn't mean that that person is staring you in the right direction. Let's keep going.
For during this investigation.
We've now learned that maybe it wasn't purchased out of Walmart. That backpack is new, is exclusive to Walmart. But who's to say I didn't buy it and put it on eBay? That's what we're looking at.
Have you been able to identify the car that drove past at 2:36 a.m.?
No.
No. But you are looking to identify it?
We're looking at that vehicle as well as hundreds of thousands of other vehicles that were out driving that time of day.
Is this really something we should be looking at?
Look, what I would tell you is this. We're aware of it and we're looking into it, just like any other piece of evidence.
And that's from our friends at the Today Show.
Irv Brandt joining us, former Senior Inspector, U.S. Marshal Service, International Investigations Branch, Chief Inspector with the DOJ, International Affairs, Country Attaché, has been all over the world working in embassies, and author of a series on Amazon of Jack Solo, the most recent Going Solo, the Gospel of Luke. Irv, thank you for being with us. We can't get away from the possibility Nancy Guthrie was taken to Mexico. How do you go about extricating someone from Mexico.
Well, it is. It will be a lot different than what.
All right. Big shout out to Julianne, who sent me a Cash App. Thank you so much, Julianne, for the Cash App. You are amazing. And DeBlango 5223 with a $5 super chat says, new here, subscribed. Question, DNA from the house was sent to CODIS and no hit. Luke, who has been arrested before and DNA on file, therefore is not our guy. All right. So, yeah, I mean, if it was sent to CODIS, then he would be inside of their database. And that means that he wasn't a guy. Also, they aren't just using CODIS. They're also putting these DNA profiles into the local Arizona database, which does not have a lot of limitations, meaning that some states, they put a lot of limitations on how you can get access to those DNA files. Like in New York, it's very stringent. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to look into the DNA file and see if somebody's in here. There's a lot of restrictions on it. There's a lot of rules to protect people's privacy, right? In Arizona, they don't have those rules. Also in New York, there's like certain crimes that are DNA and some crimes that are not, where you won't have your DNA taken, right? I think all violent crimes, DNA is taken. For some low-level crimes, DNA is not taken. For misdemeanors, DNA is not taken in New York. Whereas in Arizona, they take DNA for a whole lot more than what they do in other places like New York. So they also match these profiles with the local database, the Arizona State database. And so if you're talking about this Luke guy who has a DNA profile on file, if they have not said Luke is a suspect because his DNA was a match, that means Luke had nothing to do with this so far. Or at the very least, it means that Luke did not deposit DNA that they found that would then say that he's a suspect. It doesn't mean he didn't do it. It just means that they haven't found DNA that could link him to the case. All right, let's keep going.
What you would conduct here in the United States. And you would partner up. You would have a liaison with your Mexican counterparts. But the agencies like the FBI and the United States Marshal Service and things like that, when we send people to these countries, these are people who are very proficient in Spanish and they're very familiar with the culture. You know, a lot of them have families on both sides of the borders. They know how to work an operation and they know how to conduct an investigation in Mexico. It's not like, you know, a stranger coming from abroad, I don't know the names of the streets and, you know, things like that. That's not the case. They know these cities backwards and forwards, and they know the law enforcement in there. It's not going to be a problem for them to conduct these investigations and follow whatever leads come up.
Irv Brandt, there are huge swaths of thousands of acres that are uninhabited. Where do you start?
Well, to go into Mexico to search and to basically what you're saying is to conduct a criminal investigation on in a sovereign nation, you have to seek permission, and it would go through our legal attaches that we have at our embassies and our consulates. And Mexican authorities are more than willing to cooperate with U.S. law enforcement. And we have a very large presence in Mexico. The FBI has a large presence in Mexico. The DEA has a large presence in Mexico. The United States Marshal Service has a large presence in Mexico. And all these agencies will work together. They will pool their resources, they'll pool their manpower together, and they all have liaisons with the Mexican Federal Police, but also the police in the jurisdictions that you're going to, you know, into the towns, into the things like that. And they will help facilitate the federal agents getting in and talking and following up on these leads and doing searches.
Irv Brandt, how far into Mexico, if this is a viable alternative, How far into Mexico do you think the perps would have gone?
Well, the first thing, the places that I would hit first are the places that are closest. You would start where you would possibly think the easiest border crossing would be. You define what that is. Then you concentrate.
I never understood this. I just can't wrap my head around it. I don't understand why he got the shrubs, the bushes, and tried to cover a camera with weeds.
The easiest border crossing.
Like he's looking around and he's like, this is it right here.
Would be. You
He's gonna grab these weeds,
define what that is. Then you
packs them together, and he comes
concentrate your law enforcement, with the photographs and, the materials that they need, and start there and do it very intensely. And if
you think in that book bag, that big filled book bag, that he'd have some tape in it. He'd have something that he could use to, duct tape gives you so many options, because when you wrap that duct tape around multiple times, you can't break through it. Even a strong guy can't break through it. But it also could just be used to cover up cameras. Like, what was the point of trying to put the bushes in front of the camera? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the reason why it doesn't make sense to me, like, let's say the camera was on the ground or something. Like, why would you have a camera on the ground? I don't know. But let's say the camera's on the ground. And yeah, I guess you could put some bushes to obstruct the view, but like the camera is off the ground. It's like 6 feet up, 5 feet up, 5 feet up, not 6 feet up. What would you use to stick the bushes on the camera that would stay in place? Like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Whatever.
Get 0 results, 0 leads. That's when you start expanding it out.
Like, what do you have in that bag? You have filled bag. Like, what's in there? What did you bring to help you in this endeavor of kidnapping this woman? What tools are in that bag to help you be a good burglar if you don't even have something to cover the camera up with?
And I would expand it out along the border before going deeper into Mexico. The objective, the first thing that you would
to what point
want to know is where they crossed at. Then
what is he doing?
Would give you a bigger clue as to where they were going, once they're inside of Mexico. So, it's very different if you cross from, San Diego, for example, into Tijuana, as opposed to you cross from El Paso into Juarez. That would change the scope of the investigation dramatically.
Irv Brandt, you have dealt with all sorts of offenders all around the world. What's your take on this guy?
If you were going to write how not to conduct a kidnapping, this is the perfect example. This case makes no sense. Kidnapping is a crime as old as time itself. People kidnapping people and for ransom or for hostages to ensure things. It's been going on forever. And I have never encountered a case that's similar. Not even close. I've never, in all my years in law enforcement, I've never heard of a case like this that defies logic. I've gone over it in my head and doing just what you said. As an investigator, you have to try to get in the mind of the kidnapper. And the only thing the only phrase that keeps coming out into my mind is, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
What were you thinking? What were you thinking?
What's the end game, bro? What do you want out of this? Because I don't believe that any of the ransom notes that they've gotten were real. I don't think anybody who sent in a ransom request has any connection to Nancy Guthrie or the kidnapper. So since I feel like we have not gotten one credible ransom demand yet. What is the end game? What was the whole point in taking Nancy if you're not even asking for money at this point?
This is clearly not someone who's ever did a kidnapping before. I mean, I can make no sense of it, and I can't get behind the reasoning of, how this happened in any logical explanation for you. I don't know. It is just the most bizarre thing I have ever. Go to the police and don't go to the media, or you'll never see your loved one again. I mean, that's basic kidnapping 101. It seems like they went in the exact opposite way on how to conduct a kidnapping.
Hi there. I'm coming on to say it is day 24 since our mom was taken in the dark of night from her bed. And every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then, of worrying about her and fearing for her and aching for her, and most of all, just missing her,
Savannah Guthrie, you can see her deteriorating with every missive, with every video plea that she issues. That reward is full of implications. For instance, earlier, up until that time, the reward had been predicated upon the arrest and or conviction of the kidnapper. Not so anymore. The family begging for information to bring Nancy Guthrie home. This, as we learn, a DNA sample found in the home is absolutely, definitively stranger DNA. Where was it found? When was it found? Can it be isolated and identified? A lot happening. Straight out to special guest joining us, Mary Coleman. She is the 13 evening anchor at KOLD. If you will recall, that was one of the stations that got a ransom note. Mary Coleman, thank you for being with us. Mary, what is the latest?
Hold on. She's gonna sound like a reporter. All reporters take a deep breath before they talk. Did you just see that? She said they take it because they got that diaphragm control. She's about to sound like a reporter. Let's listen. She said, listen, hold on, let me bring it back. Let's here we go.
Note. Mary Coleman, thank you for being with us. Mary, what is the latest?
Well, Nancy, talking about the ransom note, a lot of people have questioned why there's been silence. We personally haven't received any notes for a while now, and a lot of people are still questioning the legitimacy of those notes. Law enforcement still hasn't said one way or another, but it was clear when the family started coming out with those videos that they were taking these notes very seriously because of some of the contents of them.
There was a flurry of activity. This is from our friends at Fox News. Mary Coleman joining us, KOLD. Also, Mary, were you there at your station when the first note came in?
The mood was still the same when I got in, when we saw the first notes, just because of how put together the note was. It was pretty alarming once we started to read it a little further, and we immediately handed that over to law enforcement.
What was so alarming about it?
I think how eloquent this person was, frankly, Nancy. I mean, you would think, some note like this would be all over the place. It's a ransom note. Someone's demanding something. So you would think that they'd be in a state of shock or, a different.
All right. This is what it is. All right. We'll stop it here. You guys are amazing. So Nancy Grace said that her guest said it's red hot. We listened to him. We gave him a chance. Guess what? I'm not convinced. He gave us a bunch of platitudes, no disrespect to him, but he didn't give us anything concrete that would have us believe that this case is red hot. Now, I believe this case is cold. That does not mean that the case cannot get hot, that they can't get a lead that will lead them to the apprehension of the person who took Nancy Guthrie, or even the safe return of Nancy Guthrie. For all we know, she could still be clinging to life, still be alive and well, and it is what it is. We don't know. But right now, all the evidence that we have, everything that we can see, shows us that it's highly probable that this case is cold, that the leads that they're getting via these tips are not leading anywhere. Every time we see police action, whenever we see police action, it ends in a dead end. People's houses getting searched, their phones getting taken, their cars being impounded, their bodies being detained for hours on end, only for them to be released without charges and without much explanation to them as to why they were selected and why they were identified as a subject. This case is cold. It doesn't mean that it will not be solved. It does not mean that there's not somebody out there who's going to call in a tip tomorrow is going to lead to the solving of this case. But at this moment, this case is cold, and it is what it is. All right. So we gave this guy a chance. We gave Nancy Grace a chance. We love Nancy Grace. We support her. We're big fans of her channel. We react to her stuff. Sometimes we agree. Most times we agree with Nancy Grace. Sometimes we don't. That's the nature of a real reaction channel. You're not afraid to say when you agree. You're not afraid to say when you disagree. Today, I disagree. I do not believe that her guest convinced me that this is a red hot case. Remember, words have meanings and words have power. That's what we say here on True Crime Strategic. Red hot means that they're chasing the guy right now. They know what he looks like. They know where he lives, and they're trying to get him. Stop it. Stop it. It's not the case. It's not the case. So it is what it is. I see you guys in the next one. Big shout out to all of my members who are watching today. We love the members are the life's blood of the show. Big shout out to all of my Patreon subscribers who join the Patreon as a part of our channel. DP, just want to point this out that I didn't point out before, is a Detective Squad member and is celebrating 15 months as a Detective Squad member, and we appreciate them so much. The Detective Squad is the highest level of True Crime and Strategic, and we do appreciate the support that DP gives us. And she says, only 87 likes. Can anyone please like so we can show the world this team's hard work? That was one of the earlier comments. We're much higher than 87 likes. Right now, we're at 293 likes, and I'd love to see the likes go up to at least 300 before we end the show. So 7 people who are out there, please hit that like button, support the channel so we can get to 300 likes. That would be very nice and appreciated so we can get into the algorithm and the show could be shown to a wider audience. Anyway, you guys are amazing. We made out 300. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. For everybody else, please hit the like button. Let's go as high as we can go. We'll see you guys on the next one. We're working on a few good shows. Some less traveled stories that still need the attention and need their voices heard. So look out for those shows. I'm going to do one more show tonight. And tomorrow I will be working day tours going for the rest of the week. So you will get evening shows from me starting tomorrow into next week because I'm working the day tours. We won't be able to get 11 o'clock show. I'll be at work giving a voice to the voiceless in the real world. But we will come in a nighttime and give you guys a good show. All right. So we see you guys on the next one. Be well. Strategic is out of here. Peace.